Okay, so this topic is in chapter 6, but it's such a quick topic that I just lump it all together and I kind of stick it also in chapter 7. So 6/7, day 1, notes. What is correlation? So we watched some against all odds videos on correlation. And so we're going to take some notes and introduce what correlation is kind of formally. So correlation, and she mentioned in the video that it is the letter R, lowercase r, and it measures strength and direction of a linear association between two quantitative variables. So it tells you the strength and it also tells you what direction the data is heading in. So, as far as its value, she had mentioned, it is between -1 and +1, all right? So R falls somewhere between -1 and +1. It can be -1, it can be +1. If we're working with real life data, it's really rare that that would ever happen, but it's somewhere between -1 and +1. So here's some examples of correlation. So the first one on the left here, the general trend of the data is heading upward as you go from left to right, and that is what we call a positive correlation. Heading downward is a negative correlation, and random scatter is approximately 0. The other time you'll see approximately 0 is if you have a curved set of data. That will also have approximately 0 correlation. So let's talk about strength. Because remember, we're going to talk about the strength and the direction. Positive, negative, approximately 0. Strong is anywhere from around 0.8 up to 1, either positively or negatively. There's your strong correlation. Medium is in that 0.5 to 0.8 range. And weak is anything from about 0 up to 0.5. There's no specific exact, but that's a general rule of thumb for strong, medium, weak. So let's take a look at some data that I have. So when they say describe correlation, you're just going to state the strength, strong, medium, or weak, and the direction. Is it positive or is it negative? So here's data that I have, and I took height, so people's height, and their arm span, fingertip to fingertip. And we plotted the data. And we took a look at someone's arm span, we took a look at their height, and we noticed the general trend was as follows. Correlation of 0.87. Well, 0.87 is in this strong realm. Positive because it's heading upward. So if I were to describe it, I would say there's a strong positive association between height and arm span. That's describing the data. She explained in the video the variable types. There's the explanatory that goes on the x-axis. It is what our input is. It's what we're starting with. The response, or the y variable, is our output. It's what we're trying to predict. Whatever we're trying to predict goes on the y-axis. A couple things to note though. Correlation does not change if you switch the x and y variables around. Okay, so changing the x and y. So in other words, whether I go arm span on the x, height on the y, or height on the x or arm span on the y, you'll get the same exact correlation. It does not change. Switching x and y will not change correlation. And the other thing to note is if you change units, it does not change the correlation. In other words, I measured in centimeters or I measure in inches. It doesn't matter if I measure in centimeters or inches. The correlation, the relationship between those two variables will not change. And that is the basic information of correlation.